Thanatos, known as the personification of death in Greek mythology, was always lurking in the shadows. Though he rarely appeared in person, his name was often mentioned in many stories. Despite his minimal role, his importance was demonstrated by his association with other powerful deities such as Hades and Hypnos. The Greeks believed that Thanatos had the power to release the souls of the dead from their bodies and guide them to their final resting place. Unlike Hades, who ruled over the underworld, Thanatos only facilitated the passage of the souls, he did not rule over them. Thanatos was feared by mortals and gods alike. Even Zeus, the king of the gods, respected his duties and only interfered with him when it came to saving his son Sarpedon's life from death. Despite his fearsome reputation, Thanatos was always depicted as emotionless, with black wings and a sword covered in blood. One day, a young mortal named Eurydice caught Thanatos' attention. She was unlike any other mortal he had encountered before. But Eurydice was not afraid of Thanatos. Instead, she found herself intrigued by him and his mysterious ways. Thanatos was surprised by Eurydice's bravery and curiosity, and an unlikely friendship blossomed between them. Over time, their friendship deepened, and Eurydice started to feel like she could trust Thanatos with her life. Thanatos, who had never cared for mortals before, began to see Eurydice in a different light. He was now willing to do anything to protect her. One day, when Eurydice's life was in danger, Thanatos decided to take matters into his own hands. He broke his own rules and intervened to save her life. This act of kindness was so unexpected that it caused a ripple in the fabric of the universe, and the gods took notice. In the end, Eurydice was saved, and Thanatos had found a new purpose in life. He realized that even though his role was minor, he could still make a difference in the lives of mortals. And so, he continued to guide the souls of the dead to their final resting place, but with a newfound respect for life and the living. Thanatos, the personification of death, was a feared and loathed figure. He was responsible for swift and merciless death, which made mortals and gods alike shudder at the mere mention of his name. Despite his dark reputation, Thanatos had an unlikely weakness: he could sometimes be tricked. There was one mortal, King Sisyphus, who was known for his cunning. After evading death twice before, Sisyphus managed to outsmart Thanatos once again. He lured the god into a trap and captured him, ultimately trapping Thanatos in chains. This resulted in a world without death, and with no one to guide the souls of the departed, civilization began to unravel. The gods were not happy with this turn of events, and eventually, Ares, the god of war, freed Thanatos from his chains. The reformed god of death resumed his duties, but remained angry, looking for a way to punish Sisyphus for his trickery. The one time Thanatos was prevented from claiming a mortal life was when Heracles intervened in the story of Alcestis. She had offered her life in exchange for her husband's, and when Thanatos came for her, Heracles proved too powerful for the god of death. He overpowered Thanatos and saved Alcestis, causing the humiliated god to flee. Thanatos would have his revenge on Heracles later, however. Though Thanatos remained a feared and loathed figure, it was his vulnerability to cunning mortals that made him somewhat intriguing. Thanatos, the Orphic god of death, was widely known for his representation as a young boy with wings or a child asleep. While he was initially associated with a solemn and melancholic demeanor, over time, people began to view him as a peaceful and gentle guide through the transition from life to death, particularly in Elysium. In comparison to Cupid, Thanatos is commonly depicted as a winged boy holding either a butterfly or a wreath of poppies, both of which symbolize death. To further accentuate his role, he carries an inverted torch, symbolizing the extinguishing of life. Additionally, he is often depicted alongside his twin brother, Hypnos, a sleep deity. In Euripides' Alcestis, Thanatos is shown wearing black and carrying a sword, emphasizing his dark role. One particularly famous depiction of Thanatos and Hypnos is showcased in the Euphronios crater. Here, the deities are portrayed as full-grown, bearded men with wings, carrying Sarpedon's body to its final resting place. Despite representing death, Thanatos' presence in mythology remains one of intrigue and fascination, due in part to the captivating details that surround him. Once upon a time, there was a man named Sigmund Freud who was intrigued by a concept called Thanatos, the death drive. Freud believed that humans had two basic instincts, the life instinct or theros, and the death instinct, which he called Thanatos. According to him, the death drive impelled humans towards risky and self-destructive behavior that could lead to their own death. However, some researchers opposed Freud's theory. They believed that behaviors associated with self-destruction could be explained through simpler processes like salience biases and risk calculations. Despite the debate, Thanatos has found its way into popular culture. The term thanatophobia refers to the fear of things associated with death and mortality. This fear has led to an academic and scientific study of death among human beings called thanatology. Professionals in nursing, psychology, sociology, psychiatry, social work, and veterinary science often undertake interdisciplinary studies in thanatology. Even medical conditions like thanatophoric dysplasia, whose name means death-bearing, and euthanasia, good death, in Greek, draw on the concept of Thanatos. Thanatos, the death drive, may remain a subject of debate, but it has left a significant impact on our culture.
Do you want to explore more Greek mythology stories? Who do you want to see featured next? Subscribe and leave a comment below to let me know. I'll see you in the next video.